What's up, everyone? Aaron Nagler here, PackersNews.com, live on Facebook after Family Night. Let's try this again. Sorry, I had a bad connection before. Big news of the night, David Bakhtiari goes down with an ankle injury. We saw him leave on a cart. Mike McCarthy, after practice, saying that he is dealing with an ankle. That is all the information he would give out. Bakhtiari removed the shoe and sock and was driven off on the cart. It's the last thing the Packers want to see. Obviously, last year they were able to get through a few games without Bakhtiari, but that is not a way they want to live long term. Obviously, the other injury note from the evening would be the ankle injury to Randall Cobb. Cobb dropped out of practice yesterday at Radnitsky Field, did come back to finish the practice, but then tonight he did not dress, and McCarthy confirmed afterwards that Cobb is dealing with an injury to the ankle that he had a procedure on this past summer. So those are the two major injury issues coming out of Family Night. One happened tonight, one happened yesterday, but Cobb and Bakhtiari probably won't have much more on either of them until Monday. Maybe we can find something out tomorrow. Other than that, we saw a lot of work from the young wide receivers, D'Angelo Yancey, Valdez-Scantling, Jamal Moore, all took turns. All took turns throughout the evening. Up and down performances from all of them, I thought. A lot of good work from the offensive line. A lot of depth being tested there. And McCarthy did say they shortened quite a few periods and skipped some periods tonight to try and get off the field so they could have the fireworks show and get out before the storm that is coming is supposed to hit. As Aaron Rodgers said yesterday, it always rains on Family Night, and it looks like they're just going to dodge it tonight. Bakhtiari doesn't sound good. Well, Jeff, you never really know. They're always going to proceed with an abundance of caution. They're not going to take their starting left tackle who just suffered an ankle injury and have him walk back to the locker room. Clearly, they're going to put him on the cart and drive him off. It doesn't necessarily mean it's an extremely serious injury, but we do have to wait and see. Am I flying back to New York tonight? No, I'm flying back to New York the day after the first preseason game. Murphy went in at left tackle. Yes, he did, Matt. That is correct. How long until people start calling for the heads of the strength coaches? I don't know. Let's find out. Anyone stand out at linebacker or pass rush tonight? There was one particular rep in team where, or actually I think it was pass under pressure, where Odom got a great jump and kind of blew by Byron Bell at right tackle. Now, obviously, Bell has had a history of problems with speed rushers throughout his time in the league. It's why I always say I think he's a decent guard who has no business playing tackle, and Chris Odom showed why on that play. And I thought Gilbert had a few nice moves. Obviously, it's hard to say much of anything because they're not allowed to touch the quarterback, so as soon as they make a move and as soon as they get upfield, they're kind of already letting up. But I thought those two guys in particular kind of stood out. Hey guys, hi Christopher, thanks for saying hello. Our Packers need a true run game. Well, Alex, that is something they are certainly working on through these first week and a half of camp. McCarthy made no bones about the fact that they spent the entire spring only working on the passing game. They have been doing a whole lot of work on the run game here in camp. Any standout rookies? I thought Jake Kumerow looked good again. Now, all he does is catch everything thrown to him. With guys like Valdez-Scantling, Jamal Moore. Jamal Moore had a bad drop early, but he came back and had a great touchdown catch in the corner of the end zone. Valdez-Scantling had a couple really bad drops. Those are plays you got to make, especially when you have a young guy like Kumerow sniffing at your heels. You don't want to give the coaches or the personnel people any kind of excuse to start thinking, well, maybe we need to put this guy above one of our draft picks. Brad Hundley is awful. I don't know about all that, Scott. I mean, that's a perfect example. He threw a beautiful deep ball up the left sideline that hit Valdez-Scantling right here, and the kid dropped it. That's not Hundley's fault, and that's a touchdown that you just took away from Hundley. I'm not sitting here telling you that Hundley is, the second coming of Joe Montana or anything, but he doesn't get a whole lot of help when he's in there, when he's playing with rookies and second-string guys. What are your thoughts on the defense this year? Derek, it's still very early. I will say, I think Mike Pettin has been as advertised so far. He's doing a lot of really interesting stuff in regards to scheming guys free. That is something he did a lot when he was in New York. You heard Rodgers mention it yesterday at his locker. He does a really good job of playing around and getting your protection to declare and then bringing pressure from areas that you might not have expected. And he did it again tonight where he got a number of snaps where he had free rushes at the quarterback. Again, obviously they're not allowed to touch the QBs, so they kind of pull up right away. But again and again, day after day, you see Pettine's defense has done a really good job of frustrating not only Rodgers, but the entire offense. Who's been filling in for Ryan? Andrew, it's been kind of a mix and match. You've seen a lot more Oren Burks. I think that was to be expected. You've seen some Ahmad Thomas, a guy who they had in the practice squad last year, who's been given a little bit more of a shot now that Ryan's gone down. I think we won't really know what their thinking is there until we get to the preseason games and we see how they divvy up the snap distribution. Would McCarthy prefer a stud running back, or does he prefer running back by committee? I think, if you put some truth serum in him, I think he likes guys with a lot of different qualities that he can play around with as far as being an offensive play caller and designer. Even when he's had a guy, he still liked to sprinkle in other guys getting touches. But that said, you go back to his time in New Orleans when he had Deuce McAllister, probably one of the best running backs he's ever had. He rode him. So I think if there was a special talent there, he may kind of acquiesce. But for the most part, I think he likes spreading it around. Who got hurt at family night? Anyone? Yes, David Bakhtiari got hurt. Bakhtiari, I couldn't, trying to describe it. It looked like his ankle kind of gave way underneath him. He wasn't kicked or anything. He didn't hit anybody. His left ankle just kind of not collapsed, but it just twisted and he fell down awkwardly. When is Perry coming back, Aaron? That's a really good question. We haven't been given any indication. We did ask Mike about it yesterday, and all he would say is he's still on the PUP. How is St. Brown looking? Christopher, better these last 2 days. Yesterday and today I thought were his two best showings so far in camp. He still had some less than stellar moments, I'll say, tonight, but for the most part I think he's really starting to come on. It really feels like he's kind of letting the speed of the game come to him rather than pushing so hard, and he's really starting to make the most of his opportunities. We need to add a wide receiver. We'll see, Eric. How important will Marcedes Lewis be to the offense? Lucas, I think he'll be extremely important. He had a really nice one-hand catch tonight out in the flat. But for the most part, he is going to be there for his blocking as a traditional inline tight end. That's something, obviously, that Jimmy Graham will not be used a lot in that kind of capacity. But Lewis gives them basically an extra tackle along the offensive line. I was looking at him yesterday in practice during the run drill, and the guy just buries people play after play after play. He's going to allow the Packers to do a whole lot in the play action game, and he's going to be able to obviously help them in the run game. He should really open up a lot of possibilities on the offensive side of the ball. Is Spriggs going to make this team? Peter, I tend to think so. Even with his deficiencies and the poor play that we've seen in the past, they're giving him every opportunity, and unless he completely falls apart, which I don't expect to happen, he should be on the 53. How did Aaron Jones perform on pass block? Well, Riley, Aaron Jones did not practice tonight. He's still dealing with a hamstring injury. He's been out of practice for the last few days. Do you think they will bring in any additional free agents before the end of camp? It's always possible. It sure seems that Brian Gutekunst is kind of favoring the way of his mentor, Ted Thompson, and kind of sticking with his young guys and seeing how they develop throughout camp. I know they have spoken about guys like Navarro Bowman, etc., but I think they're going to hold off on that until they get at least one preseason game in. What's up from India? What's up, Trace? Thanks for checking it out. How did Josh Jackson look tonight? Up and down. He had another bad interference penalty. That has been an ongoing theme throughout camp. Tonight it wasn't so much that what is normally his problem is grabbing guys downfield. Tonight he just arrived, or a wide receiver ran a comeback, and he was going to the ball, but in the process of doing so, he basically ran through the man before the ball got there, and he was flagged for interference. And that has been, like I said, an ongoing issue, whether it is grabbing, whether it is hitting guys before the ball gets there, etc. He is being penalized constantly, and that is something he is going to have to clean up if he wants any kind of regular playing time when the season starts. When is the first set of cuts? Keith, there is only one set of cuts now. That started last year, or maybe 2 years ago, I can't remember for sure, but it used to be, yes, you had the cuts from 90 down to 75, down to 53. Now it is just one cut. That after that fourth preseason game, they go from 90 to 53, and the practice squad, obviously. Will Bulaga play in the preseason? Riley, that remains to be determined. I'd be surprised, but maybe they want to throw the starting line out there if possible at some point, maybe the third preseason game. I don't expect he'd get a ton of work in preseason, though. Eric Reed signing? I would tend to doubt it. If they're going to do that, I think they would have made that call already, but you never know. We saw Kenny Vaccaro get signed by the Titans today. Maybe the Packers follow suit. There's some talent out there still in the free agent market. Maybe Reed gets a call. Like I said a little bit earlier in the video, I wouldn't be surprised if Gutekunst just kind of bides his time and tries to let young guys like Marwin Evans and Josh Jones kind of step to the fore. Last year was the first year. Thanks, James. And word on David Bakhtiari. Tyler, all we know is he's dealing with an ankle injury. Booming punts, James. Yeah, J.K. Scott did some booms. A couple that were touchbacks they probably would have liked to get down at the, inside the 5 instead, but for the most part, it looks like he was working on directional a little bit tonight. Did a good job there. He had a couple really huge booming punts. Kid's the real deal. And, tonight has kind of as close as they've come to a real rush. Obviously, they're never going to go full live in a practice setting. But, he's taken the next step, and now we have to see how he operates in game mode with a real live rush, and that'll happen on Thursday night. What do you think on MVS wide receiver? Lloyd Valdez-Scantling had a rough night tonight. He had a couple bad drops. And the thing is with him is you see him make some amazing catches in practice, but then he drops routine things like crossers or comebacks that he should be, completing in his sleep. I don't know if it's a lack of concentration or what, but until he gets a little bit more consistent, it's going to be hard for him to, work himself into the rotation. Is Kentrell Brice a starter when healthy? Absolutely. I don't think there's any question. I think there's a big reason he was there as the starter opposite HaHa Clinton-Dix when they started camp. And, so far, watching Josh Jones in his place has kind of validated that decision by the Packers. All right, everybody, I'm going to have to jump. Thank you so much for all the questions. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to yours, but be sure to check PackersNews.com throughout tonight and into tomorrow morning. We'll have everything that transpired here at Lambeau tonight at Family Night. Meantime, the Packers have off tomorrow, so I will most likely not be on, but I'll be back Monday. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great night.